Hamburg. Welcome, Bernd.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello. Very glad to be here with you today and to speak about these new complexities that arise for businesses from disruptive technology and changing consumer needs. What interests me most about all this, we will have here the various facets and implications that have today from the various speakers. So my main interest is really in business models and how companies can achieve sustainable profit in a rapidly changing environment. And some do. Some can take advantage of these changes. And I'm bringing some examples and some thoughts of how we can learn from them. Before I come to these examples, I'd like to speak briefly about the changes themselves and what they mean to us. So we all know about artificial intelligence and the Internet of Things and how that is changing our lives. You can open and lock your door with your smartphone. You can park your car with your smartphone if you want to. And that makes more and more sense for people. So if you think of the average US adult, she's using her mobile devices for now 3.5 hours every day. 3.5 hours. 5 years back, that was 90 minutes. That's a rapid change from 90 minutes to 3.5 hours every day, and that's the average adult. So there are lots of people around, urban, young, who spend a lot more time on their mobile devices every day. The digital platform economy is very quick to respond to that. For startups, it's becoming more and more easy to collaborate with giants like Amazon or BMW. The platform economy is kind of changing the meaning of the term competition. It's actually more and more collaborate and compete rather than a relationship of enemies. Online to offline, or O2O, is indicating the increasing flow between the internet and the physical world in retail. Jack Ma, who is the founder of Alibaba, he coined the phrase new retail for this. So Alibaba in China, they have malls. Malls where you can physically experience products, because that is what many people still want. At the same time, you can use all their online possibilities of browsing and ordering and mobile payment with facial recognition, all very cool, but bringing it both together makes it even more compelling for Alibaba. There's a 2015 study from Deloitte which estimates that customers are willing to pay 20% more for a personalized service compared to something that everybody can. That concerns cars, fashion, but it also concerns consumer packaged goods. Think of the Swedish vodka brand, Absolut. They created 4 million bottles, and each bottle has a slightly different label. And Absolut, in that way, they could maintain their brand values, but infuse some variation into the design and giving each customer a unique experience of the product. And many of these ideas are actually not coming from individual entrepreneurs or professional agencies. They're coming from crowds of consumers. Lego, you probably know of Lego, these small interlocking plastic bricks for kids. If you go to their website, you can design a set. You can be a designer of the next set, or you can vote for what other people submitted on that website. And that's becoming more and more popular. So you know about crowdfunding websites, crowdsourcing websites are more and more popular. People are becoming creative, and they become designers rather than consumers. And these people create communities that are based not on ownership, but on access, on sharing products and services. Airbnb is a typical example from tourism, but something like that exists also for companies where you can share utility or technology for your workplace with other companies. Very popular. All of that is changing the world we live in and the world we need to make a profit. What does it mean for you? What's your place in this from your one world? And how can you take advantage and see the opportunities rather than the pressure and the threats that are coming? Let me show you 3 examples of companies who saw the opportunities in the first place and made a business model out of it. My first example is a company from Israel, Wasteless, relatively new. They offer dynamic pricing to retailers, to supermarkets. So dynamic pricing means that your electronic price tag adapts automatically based on an artificial intelligence algorithm. Shoppers usually don't like that very much. They feel that they are taken advantage of if the same product costs more in the afternoon than in the morning. Why exactly is that? But this is different. This service adapts or adjusts the price based on the expiration date of the product, perishable product. And that makes a lot of sense for a retailer because it helps them manage inventory and supply chain much better, reduce out-of-stock situations. The company claims that it's a decrease of 40%, but it also makes a lot of sense for consumers, for shoppers, because they are more and more concerned about waste and the avoidance of waste. So if you go shopping to a place where this is available, you help save the planet or make the planet a better place. And if you are okay with paying a little less for a product that is not quite as fresh, you have the choice between the higher price or the lower price. So that is a kind of a win-win-win situation for all 3 sides. And I think it's a great example for a new business model in a changing world. My second example is from a completely different industry. It's a bank. N26 is a German-based bank, very, very fast growing. They get 10,000 new customers every day, so that's a number from revenue. It's an online-only bank. The bank account is for free, but that's not their main value proposition. The value proposition is that it's very, very easy and fast to open a bank account. It takes less than 8 minutes. It takes as long as smoking a cigarette. And it's as easy as smoking. No paperwork. You just hold your ID card in front of your webcam, take a picture of it, and you're almost done. In a world where lots and lots of people today want to do as much as possible on their mobile phone, try out new things, you have to have a very low barrier of trying out and opening a bank account. And that seems to work. Admittedly, the annual revenue per customer is very low. 25 euro is not much compared to other banks. The bank account is for free. They charge for loans and other online services that are available. But the acquisition cost per customer is even lower. And 20 euros per customer is an extremely low number. For traditional banks, it's more than 100. And many of these customers will probably leave after some time because leaving is just as opening an account. But maybe not. Maybe they find it interesting to try this and that service, and they stick to the bank and spend more and more all the time. Overall, this is not reinventing the product, the bank account itself. It's reinventing the way people can experience the product and experience the way of getting them in touch with the bank. My third example is again from a very different company and sector. Hilti is a manufacturer of professional power tools. Maybe you've seen them before. You cannot buy them in a home center. Until a few years, it was only via direct service, direct sales. And it's very expensive to buy. They're very good quality, so I used to work as a cabinet maker for a few years, so that was just the gold standard. You can have. But they are also very popular amongst thieves, and theft is a huge problem on construction sites. And what happens then for construction firms is they are in trouble because they cannot complete their work in time, and that's the most important thing. You have to have timely delivery. You must be truthful to what you promised in time. And that does not require ownership of the tools. So a few years back, Hilti decided to change its business model from selling tools to leasing the tools. You pay a subscription fee every month as a company, and you have guaranteed access to the number of tools that you need in this week or in that week. If it's 10 tools this week, that's okay. If it's 50 next week, you will have the 50. And the week after, if you only need 10, you send back 40 of these, and that's part of the contract. This is actually expensive. The price is 30 to 40% higher than when you buy products from the competition. But companies are willing to pay that premium because they get exactly what they need. A guaranteed availability of the tools that are required for the work they have to do. And the company is growing, so this is a very, very successful model, even though it is really expensive. But Hilti understood what people want most. They want availability, and at the same time, they would like Hilti to take some of the internal administration work that comes with that kind of service. What do these companies have in common? What can we take away from that as a learning? I think it's three things. The first thing is they really, really understand what it's like to be a customer or consumer of their products and services. They put themselves into the shoes of their customers. They're customer-centric and not use an inside-out thinking when they design business model. Hilti understood what it's like to buy and use their power tools, what is needed in order to be a successful construction firm. Wasteless understood what it's like to be a retailer and all the troubles that you have with inventory and with supply chain and managing the expiration dates and so on. The second point, as is important for business model innovation, you have to understand the willingness to pay of these customers. There are customers who are willing to pay very little for the service. Just bring me from A to B and that's it. And one has to respect that. But there are others who are willing to pay more if they exactly get what they need. So if you understand what that is, and you understand what the willingness to pay is, then you are in a very good place. And number three, they think of their business model as software, not as hardware. Meaning, it's okay if it's not perfect. It can have flaws, as long as you have updates and refine it and listen to customers and the issues that arise and make it better and better and better over time. So N26 is a piece of software, Wasteless is a piece of software, but both are ready to renovate it and optimize it on a constant basis. I would like to show you three more examples, and these are examples of cases where we have worked with companies on these issues. And I would like to show you how you can do that in practice, to avoid an inside-out thinking and to be customer-centric instead. This is a project recently done for Daimler, the German car manufacturer. And Daimler wanted to develop a subscription for cars, which is really disruptive in the German market. So owning a car is super important. But you're not owning the car here. You just pay a monthly subscription for 2 years or 3 years or 4 years, and you get the car, but you do not own it. And the special thing here is that you do not get one model, but you get a variety of models. So every 2, 3, 6 months, you get a new model, a different model. And that can cost you 200, 300, 500, 600, depends. So what they wanted us to do is find the best mix. What is the best duration? What is the best frequency of change? What is an acceptable monthly subscription fee, and so on. We can do that, we do that all the time. But that does not suffice, we thought, and Daimler thought, to really listen to how consumers would react to something like that. You cannot simply put options in front of customers and let them choose. You have to have an open ear to their doubts, concerns, misgivings, and their questions. Therefore, we wanted to have, on top of these choice questions, a chatbot. A chatbot that allowed each respondent in our survey to raise questions. I haven't understood this. What does that mean? Or to raise doubts. I don't think that that will work. Explain how it will work. And if you program the chatbot really cleverly, then you can start a conversation with consumers. So consumers find that fun. They are more willing to use the chatbot. And if they get the idea, well, this chatbot is really, it's a machine, of course. We tell them it's a machine. But still, this really elicits new questions, new ideas, new comments. So when they start with just a short term like e-mobility, you still have no idea what they mean by that. But the chatbot can ask pretty smartly, what do you mean by that? I understand you're interested in e-mobility. Please tell me more about that. And then you learn that, well, e-mobility is actually can make the offer much more attractive because few people, at least in Germany, like to buy an e-car. They have concerns, it's too risky. But if it's only for 3 months, why not? Let's just try it. And that can make the whole offer a lot more valuable, and nobody thought about that at the beginning. My second example is for a very interesting one. The football club Barcelona. They came to us and wanted us to optimize one of the services, not the ticket prices or something. They wanted to offer their fans around the world a better experience of the club. They wanted to offer over-the-top streaming content on their website so that you can watch friendly games, press conferences, meet players online. But the big question is, are our fans in the US and India willing to pay for that? That's a very good question. They are fans, okay, they love the club. But do they love the club enough to pay for something like that? And willingness to pay is very, very difficult to understand and to quantify. You cannot just ask people. They will not give you a meaningful answer. It is not in your database, in your customer database. You will find what people bought, but you do not know what they would be willing to pay for hypothetical new services. So what we did is we put some combinations of these over-the-top streaming content prices and let fans choose across the world, various countries. And based on these choices, we know from each of these fans their willingness to pay. And then we classify them into 3 groups: a low willingness to pay group, a medium willingness to pay group, a high willingness to pay group. And for each of these groups, we designed an ideal product, bronze, silver, gold, so that we ideally skim the willingness to pay. It was pretty clear that one service for all will not work. You have to differentiate. But if you know the willingness to pay, the rest is almost a piece of cake. My last example for today is for an airline. Avianca is a Colombian airline, very, very big in Latin America. Operates in almost all markets there. And they actually had this bronze, silver, gold approach to their economy class tickets, but it didn't work. They were unhappy with that. The main problem was that too many of their customers with a higher willingness to pay bought the cheapest ticket. How can you avoid that? Remember, this is a piece of software, something that turned or looked like a really good solution may not be a good solution all the time in a changing world. So how can we avoid this choosing the biggest, the smallest package, even though you have a willingness to pay for something bigger? We call that fencing pricing strategies. And what we did is we created again these kind of interview where you can choose between different options at different prices repeatedly, and based on that we learned the willingness to pay. And we also learned how important the various features of a ticket are. The number of bags you can take, a meal that is available or not, having Wi-Fi or not, having free drinks or not. With a little bit of market simulation, you can now try different prices, different services, and see how the three willingness to pay groups would react to that. What we recommended was a significant price reduction for their good and their better product, and a price increase for the best. Much lower prices, but it turned out that this is already launched. It turned out that the average revenue per customer was raised. And that's because the good was really stripped of most of the benefits. Remember, there are people who are willing to pay very little, so you give them very little. It must hurt a little to buy a cheese product. But for those who are willing to pay, you really have to give them something special. What is that special? We could give some recommendations. It's also often an emotional thing, and we will hear more about that in the next presentations. But that was something that they liked a lot. A higher average revenue per customer and a higher market share because the prices overall dropped. So this is an example of how you can fine-tune and change an existing business model over time. A summary, it's these three things that are super important. Listen, and listen to customers. Observe them and learn from that what they really, really want. Put yourself in the shoes of the customer. It's very difficult to do, but it's something that is indispensable. Understanding the willingness to pay is super important for business model innovation. It is often not a good idea to be patient about profit and think that, oh, let's first grow and the profits will come later. Often they don't. It is in most cases better to have a good idea of how you can make a profit when you innovate a business model. And thirdly, keep going. Your new product, your new service, your new business model will have flaws, and that's okay. But be prepared that you review and update, and review and update, and review and update, and review and update. Thank you.